Hello, welcome to another tonal landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy. And the painting I'm bringing you today is a riff on a fellow named, let's see if I can get this right, Julius Jacobus van de Sande, and I cannot say that last name, but you'll see it spelled out in the title for the video. Now, it took me a while to find my little reference image I created, which had some pretty significant changes from Julius's original painting, and that's why I call it a riff. You know, kind of like how a musician might riff on another musician's song. That's the approach. You can have a nice gander at that reference video in the members area, and that comes up before the rest of the video. And also, you'll see it on screen in my studio too, where I'll talk about things I think are potential issues or problems, or yeah, usually that's what I talk about. I don't usually talk about what's great about it. In this case, he had like this very subtle kind of road, which I played up a little more. I definitely played up a lot of different things. Replaced the sky. Just made it. I am Francis. It is what I did. Anyway, we're working on now. I painted this back in April. This is one from the archives here. And yeah, just been waiting to spring it on you. And I thought this will be a good one for the new year. I'd like to get around doing more of this kind of thing. I've got to find a bit more reference. They all seem to have that same old composition I favor, though, which is it's called a steel yard, I believe. And that's one mass that's heavier on one side, and then another mass that's less heavy on the other. It's very reliable, especially when you incorporate it with a little stream or a pond or a road or that kind of thing, and then a bit of light in the distance. You've got yourself, a rock solid composition. So much so that once you're paying attention, you'll see that some painters that's their whole career. Almost me too. I just love it so much, and I favor it. But we'll see. I'd like to get into some more of these kind of master riffs for the new year. We'll see how we go. Right now I'm kind of in seascape mode in the old studio because that's it's the season here. We're in the middle of summer, or we just started summer actually. Hey. Anyway, we're working on a board it's a MDF. It's been prepped with some house paint that's been tinted a red color. I'm the color I'm painting with on it to do my underpainting slash drawing slash underpainting. It's burnt umber, and it looks like it's been juiced up with a little bit of madder or possibly alizarin crimson. I can't tell if I was using the madder back then in April. I had a friend of the channel send me that tube of madder, and I've been using it ever since. And now, when that runs out, I don't know. I mean, probably I've got, I tend to, any color that's on my palette, I tend to make sure I've got a good supply of it on hand. That's been the case ever since the pandemic there. When you go to pick up the phone and people aren't answering, you can't get your supplies. Not that I ever really got in a bind, but all I need is a whiff. And I would tell you, if there's a particular paint color that you think is very important to your process from a particular supplier, there's lots of pigments that it doesn't really matter, but there are definitely pigments that are unique to each supplier that can even change from that supplier. If you consider the fact that a lot of the pigments we paint with have their basis in nature, they're minerals or that sort of thing. There's always going to be some variation and change. Now, generally speaking, when you're talking about someone like Winsor Newton, that's not going to be a problem. I can't say I'd experience it much with Gamblin. That'd probably be still my most popular paint that I use. I have pretty good supply of that, but more and more, because they're not really distributed that well out here in New Zealand. I will use paints from. In fact, I use a lot of Daler Rowney Georgian. I don't mind telling you what I use, because I'll use that for pigments that are like earth pigments that aren't mission critical, like a yellow ochre, there's a certain amount of variation in yellow ochre, but it's not an expensive pigment. You can definitely go with the thing I like about the Dale Rani Georgian. It's not student grade paint. It's professional economy paint. Another brand like that is Masamuri Classico. And I've been using their burnt umber for a little while lately. And oh, that sky's coming out nice, hey? I had some issues there where it was kind of blown out, and I think I took it back in Photoshop and made a few adjustments. And you always want to get yourself primed with a nice, juicy reference image that's inspiring. I'm not going to recommend that you make exact copies after any reference image, but you definitely want it to be as inspiring as you can make it. Sometimes that might mean toning it or changing it in some way. All right, we're going to have a book for the ad. Book for the ad for the book coming up. Yay, we're shipping books in the new year. Just got an order the other day, and I'll be sending it out tomorrow, the next day, depending on the holidays here. And oh, so happy and gratified am I to ship this book anywhere on the planet for $60 US. International shipping is included. And that's a good thing because that international shipping is pricey. So you don't want to deal with that. You just want to get your book. And that's how I've set things up. That book contains, at the time, accumulated about 13 years of painting knowledge. When I decided tonalism was for me, I didn't have many teachers. So I really had to get it together on my own, and that's why I thought it'd be good to do a book. Now, there is another book on painting in the toneless manner. It's a very, very, very old book, say 1910 or so, from Burge Harrison. You can find that online pretty much free if you look around. It's also, people have reprinted it and they sell it on Amazon also for quite reasonable. Not a lot of pictures in it, it's a very old book, but a lot of great advice, and I recommend you check that out, especially if you can get it for free. My book is not available electronically because I just think that's a can of worms, a kettle of fish, and no, but I'll send it to you. All right, so we put the sky in first. That sky's looking nice, and it's looking like I just decided to play it chunky back in April, and I'm still playing it pretty chunky if I can. We don't need lots of little details and things. Maybe you admire paintings like that, and if you do, go ahead and make paintings like that. I certainly did quite a few, especially early on, but I'm not the only guy. If you look at any of the great painters, you'll see a progression. George Ness being my favorite example. If you look at his early work, it's not really distinguishable from the Hudson River guys that were known for their incredible amounts of detail and their expansive vistas, etc. But if you look at what he's doing towards the end, I've done some studies of some of his later stuff. It is so abstract. I mean, he's got your sheep, they're just little round blobs with a dot, I don't like to go quite that far, but I do like to have things loose, a very loose brush fracture. I want it to be clear it's a painting. Also, I'm into making an expressive and emotive interpretation of a scene, which is one reason why I don't mind riffing off the old guys, In a sense, they've already kind of done some of the heavy lifting. I'm basically taking their composition and doing my own thing, my own way. Now, that's a pretty recent. If you've been following the channel, I've been doing this for maybe a year or 2 years, something like that. Prior to that, I was just making studies, but that gets old, and I was thinking about that, talking about this in my last video. I'd done tons of very, very close studies after George and Ness. And there's a bunch of there's a playlist on the channel. I think it's probably 200 videos in there or something, a lot. My goal in doing that was always just to absorb the soul from what Ines did. And if you speaking of Ines, there is a biography of Ines written by his son, who's George Ines Jr. That's a good read. You will really find it lacking in technical detail, though, if that's the thing you want. And If that is the thing you want, then you're probably better off, even though I probably don't give you as much technical stuff as you'd like. But you can always get the book. I mean, that's all the book's about is technical stuff, you know. At the end of the day, George would tell you that there's a story in his son's biography where, you know, some guy from the New York School of Design or whatever they called it, you know, came to visit. And then at this point, George Ness is famous after many years of people really not wanting to know because he brought that one of the guys that brought the fresh barbizon thing into the U.S. and basically supplanted the Hudson River thing that was going before it. And for, you know, a good 20 years or so, people, you know, didn't really like what he's doing. They thought it was abstract. They didn't really, in America, they didn't appreciate the influence of the Europeans on what they thought was a pure American painting style. But it was a change that had to happen, and he was, you know, stuck to his guns, and he so ended up getting quite a bit of fame and success in his later years. Anyway, this guy comes to visit him and wants to, you know, write about how he paints and things, and he's only to find that George will do anything to get the effect. He'll scrape, he'll scratch, he'll use a big brush, a little brush. He'll paint thin, he'll paint thick, he'll do whatever he needs to do to get what he's after. And the guy says something to George, like, wow, you're just kind of scratching stuff there. And I believe, it's been a while since I read it, but I believe George just kicks him out of the studio and says, get out, you know? Why? Well, it isn't about technique, okay? And George knew that. I know that. I'm telling you that. Um, People that are not painting at a masterful level believe that technique is extremely important. And I won't lie, technique is somewhat important. The best thing about technique is to have it mastered, whatever approach you're going after, and then to the point where you can let it go. And it's the same thing with music, you know. In fact, some of the greatest virtuosos tend to be some of the not very good at being songwriters. Jeff Beck, a great example of that. What a virtuoso guitarist he was, but not that many songs, you know. I'll take someone like a Jimmy Page over that any day. Maybe he's a little sloppy, but he's got a lot of creative stuff to say. He's you know, forging new paths. And if you want to do that, you got to be willing to subsume technique and let it go. And I have my approach and my techniques, but at the end of the day, I don't like to, getting back to where we started, where I say this is kind of patchy. Well, yeah, it's kind of patchy. Now, I could keep going, and you see what I'm doing now. I'm just adding little highlight bits. I'm adding a few little things, a little bit of payoff, you know, but the thing is, like, always leave them wanting more as far as that goes. When you start bringing in that layer of detail. And now, this whole entire painting is around, it looks like it took about 2 hours, and yeah, I do remember painting it. I really like this little painting. It's been in, of course, I've been living with it in the studio for a while. I think I may still have it. I've sold a lot of these little master riffs, and yeah, I want to do more. I definitely do. One thing I really like here that you won't see in Jacobs or Julius Jacobus's really played up that distant grass, just made it really popping and bright because we want to go there, you know. Want a big payoff. Now, it could have been that his painting had something similar, but the varnish, yeah, that's one reason I don't like to varnish my work. And now, let's face it, though, in the 1700s, you had gas lamps, or you didn't even have gas lamps. I think it was 1800s. But you had candles, you know, you need something to keep that painting from getting absolutely filthy with soot. But that's not really a problem in the modern era with our electric LED lights, is it? Anyway, Happy New Year to you. This is our New Year video, and video number 600. And I appreciate you for watching it, and hopefully you got a little something from listening to me ramble today. And worst case, you just got to enjoy watching me put it together, and I think that's the most valuable aspect of the channel. Until I come back with another video for your, hopefully for your edification and enjoyment, do me a favor, do me a solid, take good care of yourself, your family, all your loved ones. Stay out of trouble. God bless you and your family, and please fight the power.